The millionaire's wife entered like she wasn't walking into a courtroom. She was claiming territory. Diamonds flashing, chin raised, the kind of confidence that didn't just shine. It warned. Judge Judy looked up. The room tightened around the tension. She stepped closer, smile sharp as a blade, and delivered the line no sane person would ever dare. "You work for me." Silence swallowed the courtroom. Judge Judy's eyes turned to steel. Her smile didn't fade. It collapsed, slow and cold, like a warning the storm had just chosen its target. And in that frozen moment, everyone understood one thing. This wasn't arrogance. It wasn't a mistake. It was the beginning of something so volatile that no one in that room would walk out the same. But before we jump in, tell me, where are you watching from? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The echo of her sentence still hangs in the air when Judge Judy moves. Not fast, not loud, just a small shift in her chair, like the whole courtroom has to rebalance around her. The millionaire's wife is still standing where she claimed the space, one hand on her hip, diamonds catching the light like tiny spotlights she brought for herself. Her chin is raised. Her mouth is curved in the kind of smile people practice in mirrors when they are very sure the world belongs to them. Judge Judy looks up at her, slow and steady. The camera could almost zoom in on just her eyes. No smile, no frown. Just that cold, measured stare that has made thousands of people rethink their life choices in under 10 seconds. "You work for me," the woman repeats, as if maybe the judge did not hear it clearly the first time. A low murmur moves through the gallery like a wave. Someone shifts in their seat. Papers rustle. Even the bailiff's jaw tightens for a second before he settles back into his post. Judge Judy does not look at the crowd. She does not need to. She keeps her focus locked on the woman in front of her. "Is that so?" Judy says, her voice flat as glass. It is not a question. It sounds more like a warning. The woman nods, almost proud. "You're paid to be here. This show exists because people like me agree to be on it. So yes, you work for me." The words land heavy. In the harsh studio lights, the courtroom does not feel like a set for a moment. It feels like a real place where something dangerous just got invited in. The camera could cut to the side now, to a corner where most people are not looking. A woman sits there, hands folded around a worn purse pressed against her stomach. She wears plain clothes, no diamonds, no shine, just tired eyes and a posture that says she is used to making herself smaller. That is the housekeeper. Her gaze drops when the millionaire's wife glances her way, a quick, sharp look like a slap. The housekeeper's fingers tighten on the purse strap. She does not speak, but the fear in her shoulders says enough. Judge Judy notices the glance. Of course she does. She misses nothing. "Let me explain something to you," Judy says, voice still calm. "I do not work for you. I do not work for them." She gestures once toward the cameras without even looking at them. "I work for one thing only, the truth. That is why you are standing there. And that is why she is sitting there." The woman's smile flickers. Just a little. A hairline crack in marble. "You people," the wife says, waving a hand like she is brushing off dust. "You love this. You love to drag successful people down. She is just mad I fired her. She is trying to use your show to get money." Judge Judy leans forward. "You really think this is about a television show?" she asks. Her tone is soft now, but every word feels like a step closer. The wife opens her mouth, ready to launch into another speech about status and money and how the world works for people like her. Judy does not let her. "Tell me," Judy cuts in, eyes narrowing, "is that how you talk to everyone who works for you?" The question lands in the center of the room like a dropped gavel. For a second, no one breathes. And then Judy turns her head, just slightly, toward the quiet woman with the worn purse. "Good," she says, "because we are going to start with one of them." The scoff leaves the millionaire's wife before the housekeeper even reaches the stand. Sharp, dismissive, loud enough for the whole room to hear. It slices through the quiet like a blade meant to remind everyone who she believes she is. The housekeeper rises slowly, clutching her purse like it is the only thing keeping her standing. Her steps are small, careful, as though she is afraid of taking up too much space. The courtroom lights make her nerves visible, The tremble in her fingers, the way she pulls her shoulders inward, the breath she keeps forgetting to finish. Judge Judy watches her approach, not with impatience, but with a kind of forensic attention. The kind she reserves for people who have been interrupted too many times in their lives. As soon as the housekeeper settles into the witness chair, the millionaire's wife laughs under her breath, a short, cruel exhale. Judge Judy turns her head, just a fraction, but enough to silence everything within 10 feet. "Ma'am," Judy says softly, "you will not speak unless I ask you to." The wife leans back in her seat, folding her arms, wearing the expression of someone convinced rules are meant for other people. Judy shifts her focus to the housekeeper. "All right," she says, her voice steady. "Take a breath. Look at me. Start from wherever you can." The housekeeper nods once, but her lips part without sound. It takes another moment, a blink, a swallow, a fragile inhale, before words find her. "I worked for her," she begins, voice barely above a whisper. "Almost a year." The wife scoffs again. "Worked? She barely—" Judy raises a hand. The interruption dies instantly. The housekeeper continues, eyes fixed on the table as if afraid to meet anyone's gaze. "She did not pay me for the last 3 months. She said I should be grateful just to be in her house. She yelled a lot. She said if I made trouble, she would make sure nobody hired me again." The words do not come out in anger. They come out like memories she wished she could forget. A ripple goes through the gallery, not shock, not outrage, something quieter, heavier. Sympathy, settling like dust across the room. The wife leans forward. She is being dramatic. She was slow, lazy. I had to push her. "Enough." Judy's voice cuts clean through the air. The judge's eyes soften slightly as she looks back at the housekeeper. "Do you have any documentation of what you are claiming?" she asks. The housekeeper hesitates. She reaches into her purse with careful fingers, as if the truth could shatter if handled too quickly. What emerges is a thin, trembling folder. Edges worn, corners bent, papers frayed from being held too many times with hope and fear. Her hands shake as she sets it on the desk. Judge Judy nods toward it. "What is in there?" The housekeeper opens the folder. A single sheet slips loose, sliding across the desk like a whispered confession. And just as the courtroom leans closer, the millionaire's wife sits up straight, eyes narrowing, breath catching, because she recognizes exactly what kind of evidence is about to come out. Judy places a finger on the folder. "Let us take a look," she says, and the room goes silent enough to hear the paper tremble. The folder slips open before anyone even touches it. A stack of printed screenshots spills across the desk, like truth trying to escape. The millionaire's wife inhales sharply, the first real crack in her polished armor. Judge Judy reaches forward, picking up the top page with deliberate calm. The paper crinkles in her fingers. The sound is small, but in the tense quiet of the courtroom, it might as well be thunder. The screenshots are harsh, blunt, and unmistakably personal. Messages filled with belittling comments, late-night texts demanding the housekeeper return at whatever hour I decide. Threats disguised as reminders, and the tone, unmistakable superiority dripping off every sentence. The housekeeper keeps her gaze down, as if looking at the words again would reopen wounds she has tried too long to keep closed. But the wife? Her reaction is immediate and loud. "These are fake," she snaps. "I do not talk like that. Anyone could have copied my number. She is trying to frame me because she wants money and attention." Judge Judy's eyes lift slowly. "Fake?" "Obviously," the wife says, spreading her manicured fingers as if the answer is self-evident. "Anyone with a cheap app can pretend to be me." Judy studies her for one long, unbroken second, the kind of look that sees past excuses, past performance, straight into intention. Then she lowers her gaze back to the page. "The timestamps," Judy murmurs. The wife freezes. She tries to hide it, the flinch, the tiny tightening at the corners of her mouth, but the courtroom sees it. The husband, seated behind her, shifts uncomfortably. The housekeeper swallows hard. Even the bailiff leans slightly forward, sensing something has changed. Judy taps one screenshot gently. "You claim these messages are fabricated. Yet the timestamps are perfectly consistent with your work schedule, your travel schedule." She holds up another page. "And even your public Instagram posts." The woman's confidence flickers again, brief but real, like a candle hit by a cold draft. That proves nothing, she insists. Her voice rises in pitch, volume, and desperation. Anyone can match times. Anyone can... But not everyone, Judy interrupts, would know what you were doing at these exact times. The wife opens her mouth, ready to argue, but her eyes betray her. They dart sideways just for a second, as if searching for an escape hatch. Judy notices. She always notices. And not everyone, Judy continues, lifting a second screenshot, would know how to mimic your punctuation style, your speech patterns, and the exact phrases you used earlier. Right here in my courtroom. The gallery lets out a collective breath, half gasp, half realization. The wife's jaw clenches. Her diamond bracelet catches the light as she folds her arms, but the shine no longer looks like confidence. It looks like armor that is starting to fail. Judy gently lays the screenshots on the desk, forming a neat, undeniable stack of truth. Her voice lowers to something colder than anger, something closer to certainty. Let us talk about this timestamp, she says. The wife's smile disappears entirely, and for the first time since she walked in, she looks genuinely afraid of what comes next. The screenshot rests in Judge Judy's hand like a quiet accusation. She turns it toward the defendant, slowly, deliberately, and the millionaire's wife stops breathing for half a second. The shift is small, almost invisible, but the courtroom feels it. It is the moment a storm realizes it has been seen. Judge Judy does not raise her voice. She does not need to. Your message, she says, tapping the timestamp with a neatly manicured finger, was sent at 2:14 p.m. At that precise time, you were seated at a charity luncheon, correct? The wife tries to recover her smile, but it wobbles like a glass set on an uneven table. I attend many luncheons, she says lightly, though her throat tightens around the words. You cannot expect me to remember every detail. Oh, but I can, Judy replies. And the stillness that follows is the kind people lean into without realizing they are doing it. Judy lifts the next page, a printed news photo of the luncheon. The wife is in it, smiling broadly, holding her phone in her right hand. The housekeeper's hands fold together tightly on her lap. The husband's posture collapses by an inch. The gallery shifts, sensing momentum changing direction. Judy lays the photo beside the screenshot. Same time, she says. Same phone, same hand position, same bracelet. The wife's face drains. It happens slowly, like color being pulled from a painting. This does not prove I sent anything, she snaps, falling back on volume instead of logic. Someone could have grabbed my phone. The staff touches things. She jabs a finger toward the housekeeper, could have taken it. The accusation slams into the room like a thrown object. The housekeeper flinches. Her eyes drop to her lap, but the tremble in her breath gives her away. Judge Judy's gaze turns cutting. You are accusing her of taking your unlocked personal phone at a private event she was not even present for. A few chuckles ripple through the gallery, not cruel, just incredulous. The wife hears them. Her desperation hardens. She lies, the wife blurts. She always lies. She hated me. Stop. The word is soft, but it lands like a gavel strike. Judge Judy leans forward, elbows resting on the bench, eyes narrowing with surgical precision. When people panic, they reveal themselves. You want to know how I know these messages are yours? The wife swallows. The room grows still. Because, Judy says, lifting another page, you sent a message in this thread while you were sitting in your car the day of your husband's birthday, and the house alarm logs show only one person entered the home that afternoon. The wife's pupils widen. It is the first honest reaction she has had all day. And that, Judy continues, sliding the phone records onto the desk, was you. Silence detonates inside the room. Judy taps the printed phone bill. Since you claim someone borrowed your phone, she says, please explain why these messages were sent from your verified account under your biometric ID, activated by your fingerprint. The millionaire's wife freezes, and the first real crack becomes impossible to hide. The millionaire's wife does not speak at first. For the first time since she strutted into the room, her mouth opens, but no words come out. Her confidence, once sharp enough to cut glass, now flickers like a dying flame trying to find oxygen. Judge Judy says nothing. She simply waits, letting the silence show everyone what panic looks like. And the wife feels it. She senses the room shifting away from her, the weight of every stare settling like stones on her shoulders. So she does what people do when the truth corners them. She goes louder. "This is ridiculous," she explodes. Standing so abruptly, her chair shrieks against the floor. "This is an attack. You are letting her manipulate you. She is trying to destroy my life and my marriage." Judy raises an eyebrow but still does not raise her voice. "Your marriage?" she repeats, tone glinting like a knife hidden in calm water. The wife stumbles forward into the rant she's been holding like a weapon. "She wants to poison him against me. She wants my money, all of it. She is obsessed with me, obsessed with my success," the gallery murmurs. The husband sinks lower in his seat, the guilt of inaction beginning to weigh on him. And the housekeeper? She cannot lift her head, not with those accusations whipping toward her like lashes. Judge Judy finally speaks. "Sit down." The wife freezes. The command is not loud, but it is absolute. She sits stiffly, angrily, as if the chair itself has offended her. Judy folds her hands. "You claim she is obsessed with your success," she says, "but from where I sit she looks terrified of you, and fear is not obsession." The wife scoffs, rolling her eyes dramatically, leaning into arrogance like a security blanket. "You are taking her side. Of course you are. Poor little housekeeper with her sad stories. Please, she is acting." The housekeeper's breath catches, a soft, painful sound. Judy hears it. Her gaze sharpens. "Enough of that," Judy says, calm but chilling. "We are dealing with facts now, not your ego." The wife's mouth twists, ready to argue, ready to reclaim control, until Judy lifts a hand again. "And since you insist on proof," Judy continues, "let us talk about evidence you have conveniently not mentioned." The wife blinks. "What evidence?" "You said she stole from you," Judy reminds. "You said she damaged your property. You said she threatened you. Those are serious accusations. So where is your proof?" The courtroom goes utterly still. It is the kind of stillness that drains excuses from the air. The wife begins flipping through her designer handbag, rifling through papers with frantic, jerky motions, receipts, envelopes, a scattering of glossy invitations, everything except what she claims to have. Judy watches her unravel. When the wife finally slams the empty handbag onto the desk, breath ragged, Judy leans forward. "No proof?" she asks softly. The wife's voice is thin. I must have left." "No," Judy interrupts. "You did not leave anything. You never had it." A hush rolls across the room. Judy opens a file of her own. "Fortunately," she says, "I have evidence, and it is not in your favor." For the first time since she unleashed that arrogant line, "You work for me," the millionaire's wife cannot answer. Her lips part, but nothing comes out. Silence clings to her like a second skin. Judge Judy waits, not impatiently, not angrily, just watching her with that unnerving precision, the kind that does not miss truth when it starts to leak through the cracks. The wife tries to recover herself, digging back into her voice like someone searching for footing in sinking sand. "This whole case is absurd," she manages, lifting her chin. "You are entertaining lies. She made up everything. She is—" But her voice falters, just a breath, just long enough for everyone to feel it. The housekeeper keeps her head down, fingers knit so tightly they blanch at the knuckles. She has not spoken since the accusations. Her silence says everything: fear, exhaustion, the weight of months spent swallowing humiliation. Judge Judy shifts her gaze to the housekeeper. "Did you bring anything else besides the messages?" she asks gently. The housekeeper nods, barely. "Yes." Before she can reach into her purse again, the millionaire's wife snaps, "Oh, she has more? Of course she does. She probably spent all week fabricating fake evidence. What is next? Audio recordings? Videos? A dramatic monologue?" the gallery murmurs. Even the husband looks at her sideways now, realizing her certainty has turned brittle. The housekeeper swallows hard and pulls out a small digital recorder, tiny, silver, trembling in her hand. The wife goes dead still. Judge Judy lifts an eyebrow. "You have audio?" The housekeeper nods again, hands trembling. 3 recordings, all from times she raised her voice at me. I never wanted to use them. I wanted proof. In case she fired me again, or worse." The millionaire's wife bolts upright. "That is illegal." You cannot record people without their permission. Judy tilts her head. In your state, one-party consent is perfectly legal. The wife's mouth opens, then snaps shut. Her breath stumbles in her chest. And besides, Judy adds, I have not ruled on admissibility. I'm merely establishing whether it exists. The digital recorder rests on the edge of the bench like a tiny metallic threat. Quiet, but powerful. Judy turns to the housekeeper. Just the first one. Play it. The wife slams her palm onto the desk. Do not play that. It is edited. She is trying to ruin me. But Judy does not even glance at her. Play it, she repeats. The housekeeper presses a button. A soft crackle fills the courtroom speakers. Gentle static, the sound of truth waking up. Then a voice, sharp, cold, venom wrapped in satin. The millionaire's wife, sneering. You are nothing. Do you hear me? Nothing. I can replace you before lunch. The courtroom freezes. The wife's face drains of color, diamonds suddenly dull against her skin. She whispers, That is not me. But the room knows. Everyone knows. Judy leans back, eyes narrowing as the recording continues. Let us hear the rest, she says, while the wife's composure finally begins to shatter. The audio crackles again, a soft, jagged sound, like the recording itself is gathering courage before revealing what comes next. The courtroom leans forward. Even the cameras seem to steady themselves. Then the voice returns. Her voice. Sharper this time, unfiltered. Do not look at me like that, the millionaire's wife snarls on the recording. You think I need you? You think people like me answer to people like you? A quiet gasp breaks from someone in the gallery. Another from the husband. The real, living wife slams her hands on the desk. Turn it off! I said turn it off! This is out of context! Judge Judy lifts a single hand. The courtroom freezes. The recording keeps going. You do what I say, the recorded voice continues, or I will make sure you never work in this city again. I will ruin you before you can even beg. The housekeeper's shoulders fold inward as she hears her past self respond. Voice tiny, trembling, apologizing for something she did not even do. Please, ma'am, I just need my paycheck. The recorded wife laughs, a cold, chilling sound that echoes unnervingly across the speakers. Oh, sweetheart, the recording mocks. You get paid when I decide you get paid. The gallery reacts, a low tidal wave of shock and disgust rolling across the room. Even the bailiff looks away for a moment, jaw clenching. The millionaire's wife looks like she has been hollowed out. Her face is pale, her posture rigid, her smile gone completely. She forces out a shaky laugh. That's not how I speak. That's edited. She cut things out. She twisted everything. Judge Judy tilts her head. It sounded unedited to me. The husband stands suddenly, not to defend her, but because he cannot sit anymore. His eyes are locked on her, wide and horrified. Is this how you talk to her? He whispers. The question sounds like it is tearing something inside him. The wife does not answer, because there is no answer that can save her. Judy nods to the housekeeper. Play the next part, the wife panics. No, you do not have my permission. You gave consent the moment you treated her like that, Judy replies, voice cool as steel. The housekeeper presses another button. Another recording begins. This one is quieter, deadlier. It is the wife again, but her tone is even worse. No yelling, no theatrics, just cold, calculated cruelty. You are lucky I let you stay in my home. People like you should be grateful to breathe the same air. The courtroom recoils. Even Judy's eyes harden, a rare, visible shift. The husband sinks back into his seat, hands covering his mouth, as if realizing he's been living with a stranger. The real wife clasps her shaking hands together, as though trying to physically hold her world in place. That's enough, she cries. Stop this! But the next line has already begun, a line that makes the entire courtroom stiffen. Someday, the recorded wife says, voice low and venomous, someone will put you in your place, and when they do, I hope it hurts. The audio cuts. Silence crushes the room. Judge Judy turns slowly toward the husband, eyes sharp, voice steady. Sir, she says, I think you need to hear the next recording too. The husband does not move at first. He sits rigid, as though trapped between the voice he just heard and the woman he thought he married. The air in the courtroom feels heavier now. Not loud, not chaotic, just thick with the kind of silence that appears when illusions begin to die. Judge Judy studies him for a moment. Her voice softens, but only slightly. "Sir," she repeats, "you need to hear what comes next." The housekeeper's thumb hovers over the button, trembling. The millionaire's wife launches forward, desperation cracking her voice. "You do not play that. You hear me? That recording is private?" Judy cuts in, calm and surgical. "Nothing about abuse is private in this courtroom." The wife freezes, and the housekeeper presses play. A soft click, a breath, then the wife's voice, low, unfiltered, dripping with contempt. "You think he loves you people? He barely notices you exist. He is soft, weak. I run everything in that house, not him." The husband jerks upright as if struck. His eyes widen, searching her face for denial, for any sign that this is not real. But the recording continues. "He thinks he makes the money, but I control it. I decide what gets done, and he simply nods like a good boy. Without me, he is nothing. Absolutely nothing." A wave rolls through the courtroom, shock, disbelief, pity. The wife covers her mouth, shaking her head fiercely, mouthing no even as her recorded self keeps unraveling the truth. The husband slowly stands, not in anger, not in defense, just standing, like a man whose foundations have cracked beneath him. He whispers, barely audible, "Is this how you speak about me? About our life?" His wife's eyes beg, plead, scramble for excuses. "That was a joke. Just venting. I did not mean—" Judy raises a hand, halting her spiraling lies. "There is more," Judy says quietly, and the next line hits harder than anything before. Recorded wife. "If I wanted to, I could drain every account before he notices. Men like him are easy to manage." The husband's face collapses, not with anger, but with a grief too raw to hide. His breath breaks, and he takes a small step backward, as if the distance might soften the impact. The wife reaches toward him, trembling. "Sweetheart, please." He flinches away. The gallery watches a marriage unravel in real time. Wealth, status, diamonds all dimming under the weight of one undeniable truth. Power was never something she had. It was something she stole. Judge Judy lets the silence settle, heavy and absolute. Then she looks directly at the husband. "Sir," she says, "you came here to resolve a wage dispute, but what we are looking at now is much deeper. This is a pattern of control, of manipulation, and of cruelty." The wife collapses into her chair, shaking her head in tiny, frantic bursts, as though trying to outrun her own voice echoing through the speakers. But the truth is already out, and it cannot be pulled back. Judy leans forward, eyes fixed on the husband. "There is something you have not told this court yet," she says, "something I suspect you have been afraid to admit." The room stills. "And I think," Judy finishes, "it is time you say it out loud." His throat tightens before he speaks. You can see it in the way he swallows, in the tremor that flickers across his jaw. The man who walked into the courtroom silent and composed now looks like someone whose entire life is collapsing in slow motion. Judge Judy gives him space, not with words, but with stillness. She knows silence can pull truth out better than pressure. The husband finally exhales. "I knew," he says softly. The courtroom shifts, one collective breath drawn in, held tight. The wife snaps toward him, eyes wide. "Knew what? What are you talking about?" He does not look at her. "I knew you were harsh with staff," he says. "I heard things sometimes, comments, tone, doors closing too hard. She," he gestures toward the housekeeper, "came to me once. She was crying. She said you yelled at her for hours." The wife shakes her head violently. No, that never—" But he keeps going, voice trembling in a way that carries more truth than any evidence ever could. "And I did nothing," he admits. "Nothing." The word hangs in the air like a confession carved into stone. "I told myself it was stress, that it would pass, that you were overwhelmed." His voice cracks. "But really, I was afraid. Afraid that if I confronted you, you would turn that anger on me. Or worse, you would leave." The wife's face contorts, not with guilt, but with insult. "Leave? You think I would leave you?" Judy raises a hand. "Do not answer him," she warns. "Let him speak." The husband nods gratefully, as though someone finally granted him permission to feel. I convinced myself I was keeping the peace, he continues, that staying quiet made me the good guy in the middle of it all. He meets Judy's gaze. But silence is not neutral, is it? Judy responds with a slow, steady shake of her head. No, it is not. The housekeeper wipes the corner of her eye, a tiny private gesture that the cameras almost miss. Her pain is not loud, but it is real. The husband hesitates, then continues. There were nights, he says, when she would brag about how she ran the house, how people feared her. I never believed she could be this cruel. The wife slams her hands onto the bench. Cruel? I provided everything. I gave you a life people dream of. But you took everything from everyone else, he whispers. The gallery falls silent. This is not a wage dispute anymore. It is a marriage breaking open, a man seeing truth with unshielded eyes for the first time. Judge Judy folds her hands. Sir, she says, you are not on trial, but your silence allowed harm. What you do with this truth now determines who you become next. The wife stares at him, her world tilting. He stares back, his own world finally leveling. Judy leans forward. And now, she says, we deal with the consequences of everyone's choices. Tell me, should silence to keep the peace carry the same weight as direct wrongdoing, or is looking away different from causing harm? The echo of the husband's confession is still hanging in the air when Judge Judy turns her attention back to the quietest person in the room, the woman who has carried the heaviest weight. The floor's yours, Judy says gently. The housekeeper tries to lift her head, but the effort looks painful, like gravity is heavier for her than for anyone else. She folds her hands tightly in her lap, holding herself together as if she might break apart if she lets go. A long, shaking breath leaves her. I did not want to say anything else, she begins. Her voice is barely there, fragile as paper. I do not like trouble. I never have. I just wanted to work, to earn honestly. To send money home, the wife scoffs loudly. Oh, please, the sympathy act again? She is milking this. Judy lifts one finger. The interruption dies like a snuffed flame. The housekeeper continues, slowly, carefully, as though walking barefoot across memories that still burn. She yelled a lot, she says, but yelling is not what hurt the most. Her voice wavers. It was how she looked at me, like I was nothing. Like I was not a person, just something to order, something to blame. Her throat tightens. She presses her fingers to her lips, trying to steady them. There were days she would make me redo things over and over. She said if I did not like it, I could leave, but I needed the job. My son is sick. Medicine is expensive. I thought if I stayed quiet, it would get better. The millionaire's wife rolls her eyes dramatically. And here comes the sob story. Judge Judy snaps her gaze toward the defendant. Do not speak. The two-word command slams the room into absolute stillness. The housekeeper nods gratefully, a tiny gesture, then continues. One day, she says, I asked her when I would be paid. It had been weeks. I was scared to ask, but we had nothing left at home. Tears slip down her cheeks now, silent, unforced. She told me I should be grateful she let me work in her house at all. She said people like me should be thankful to breathe the same air. A ripple of shock moves across the gallery, not loud, not dramatic, just collective heartbreak. The husband's face crumples. The wife looks away. Judge Judy leans forward. Did she ever physically threaten you? The housekeeper shakes her head quickly. No, she never touched me. She did not have to. Her words were enough. Her voice breaks, but not from fear. From release. I stopped looking her in the eyes, she whispers. I stopped talking unless she talked first. Every day I walked into that house, I told myself to shrink smaller so she would not notice me. The courtroom feels colder now, heavier, like everyone is sitting inside her memories. Judy's voice is soft when she speaks. And why are you speaking now, after everything? The housekeeper lifts her head, finally, revealing eyes full of pain, courage, and exhaustion. Because I'm tired of being afraid, she whispers, and because, if I do not speak now, she will do this to someone else. For the first time, the millionaire's wife looks truly shaken, not because of the accusations, but because the power she fed on is slipping away. Judge Judy turns toward the wife, eyes sharp as glass. "You know fear well," she says, "because you used it." She leans back, the air tightening. "Now I want to know why." Judge Judy's question hangs in the air with a gravity that pulls every pair of eyes toward the defendant. "Why?" she repeats, voice low, steady, surgical. "Did you use fear?" The millionaire's wife stiffens, every muscle in her body tightening as though bracing for impact. Her face, once a mask of polished confidence, now twitches with quiet fractures. She opens her mouth to fire back, another cutting remark, another deflection dripping in superiority, but nothing comes out. For the first time, silence is not her weapon. It is her unraveling. Judy tilts her head. "You know exactly what I'm asking." The woman's lips tremble, barely noticeable. Her fingers tap the table, once, twice, a nervous rhythm betraying the control she's losing. "You think I enjoyed any of this?" she finally hisses, though the venom is weaker than before. "You think I wanted to be the bad guy?" "No," Judy says. "I think you wanted to be the powerful one, and somewhere along the way, you forgot what power is." The wife's throat moves in a hard swallow. A shifting memory passes over her expression, something darker, older, painful. She looks down, not around, not at the cameras, down, and the courtroom goes still. "I grew up with nothing," she says quietly. So quietly it takes a moment for the room to register the words. "We lived in a one-room apartment. My mother cleaned houses. She worked until her hands cracked and people still treated her like she was invisible, like dirt." Her voice shakes, not dramatically, not conveniently, but with the rawness of someone peeling back a layer she has never shown anyone. "I promised myself," she whispers, "that I would never be like her, never be powerless, never be small." The housekeeper watches her, not with forgiveness, but with recognition. The wife forces a shaky laugh, one that dies instantly. "When I finally had money, when I finally had people working for me, I thought—" She breaks off, wiping a stray tear with the back of her hand. "I thought if I acted untouchable, then no one could ever treat me the way they treated her. Or me." Judy's voice softens by a fraction. "So you became them." A single tear slips down the wife's cheek. This time she does not hide it. "I didn't mean to," she whispers. I liked not being afraid. I liked the control. I liked knowing no one could look down on me ever again." The gallery watches the transformation, not a redemption, but a revelation. Arrogance is no longer the villain. Fear is. The wife looks at the housekeeper, really looks, maybe for the first time. "I wasn't hurting you because you deserved it," she says. "I was hurting you because some part of me still lived in that one-room apartment, and I didn't want to see it reflected back at me." The housekeeper's eyes fill, not with sympathy, but with the weight of finally understanding what she endured. Judge Judy lets the silence sit, letting truth settle like dust illuminated by a harsh courtroom light. Then she straightens. "And now," she says, voice returning to steel, "we decide what that truth is worth." Judy picks up her gavel, eyes locked on the shaking defendant. "Because fear explains your behavior," she says, "but it does not excuse it. The revelation still hums in the air, raw, exposed, impossible to take back." But Judge Judy does not let the moment linger. Truth in her courtroom is not a place to rest. It is a place to begin. She folds her hands atop the bench. "All right," Judy says, voice steady as concrete. "We have addressed the why. Now we must address the what you did, what it caused, and what must happen next." The millionaire's wife stiffens, trying to rebuild what's left of her facade, but the diamonds on her wrist no longer catch the light the same way. They look heavy now, like shackles of her own making. Judy looks to the housekeeper. "You claimed unpaid wages for 3 months. That alone is a violation. But combined with harassment, verbal abuse, and threats, the consequences increase significantly." The wife jolts forward. "Threats? I never threatened her." "That recording was taken out of—" Judy raises a hand, silencing her instantly. "You told her," she quotes from the audio, "I will ruin you before you can beg." That is a threat, and it is documented. The wife's mouth snaps shut. For once, she has nothing to deflect with. Judy shifts her attention to the husband. You offered to pay her what she is owed earlier. Does that still stand? The husband nods, not eager, but determined. Yes, I want to make this right. The wife turns to him, betrayal twisting her features. Make this right? Our money? Our responsibility, he corrects, voice low but stronger than before. The shift between them is palpable. He is no longer shielding her from consequences. He is standing in the truth she tried to bury. The housekeeper watches this exchange with quiet disbelief, as if afraid to hope too much. Judge Judy continues, her tone businesslike but not cold. You will pay her full wages owed. That is non-negotiable. Additionally, considering the emotional distress caused by repeated verbal abuse, there will be supplementary damages. The wife scoffs. Emotional distress? Please, she's acting. Judy snaps her gaze toward her with a force that feels like a physical blow. She is standing, ma'am, Judy says. You are acting. The gallery murmurs, agreement, approval, righteous satisfaction building like quiet thunder. The wife's face reddens, her jaw clenching so tightly the muscles tremble. Judy continues, relentless. I will also be recommending that producers forward this case to the appropriate agencies for workplace and labor review. Not criminal, she clarifies, but administrative. Your employment practices need evaluation. The wife's eyes widen. This is no longer about embarrassment on television. This is about her entire life, her reputation, her status, her carefully curated power, fracturing beyond her control. You cannot do that, she whispers. Judy leans forward. I can, and I will. The housekeeper lowers her gaze, tears forming, not from fear this time, but from something that looks like long-awaited relief. The wife grips the edge of the bench, knuckles whitening. What happens now? She asks, voice trembling despite herself. Judge Judy looks at her, not with anger, not with pity, but with the unwavering justice she is known for. Now? She pauses just long enough for the room to hold its breath. Now, Judy says, I tell you exactly what the consequences of your choices will be, down to the last dollar. Judge Judy doesn't reach for the judgment sheet yet. She lets the moment breathe, lets the weight of everything said, everything revealed, everything denied, finally settle into the room like dust falling through a static beam of courtroom light. Then she leans forward. Before I give numbers, she begins, we need to talk about what those numbers represent. The millionaire's wife straightens, clinging to whatever remains of her dignity. The diamonds on her wrists gleam again, but they no longer look like symbols of wealth. They look like armor she's realizing won't protect her anymore. Judy's gaze sharpens. You treated your employee, she says, nodding at the housekeeper, as though her time, her dignity, and her existence had no value. That is the root of this entire case. The wife rolls her eyes, a reflex she hasn't learned to restrain even now, but her confidence no longer lands with authority. It lands like a mistake she can't seem to stop making. Judy continues, voice calm but with the force of something carved from stone. Let me be perfectly clear. People who work in your home are not decorations. They are not props. They are not punching bags for your insecurity. The gallery murmurs in agreement, quiet, steady, collective. The housekeeper bows her head, not out of fear now, but from the overwhelming shock of hearing someone with authority acknowledge what she endured. The wife scoffs, crossing her arms. This is dramatic. I didn't traumatize anyone. She's exaggerating to milk your sympathy. Judy doesn't raise her voice. Instead, she lowers it. And somehow, that makes it sharper. What you call exaggeration, she says, is survival. The wife blinks, thrown off balance. Judy turns to the husband. And you sat by. You heard things, you sensed things, and you let it go. The husband's shoulders slump. This does not make you a villain, Judy adds, but it does make you responsible. Silence is not neutrality. Silence is permission. The words strike him hard, harder than anything his wife said or did. He nods, a small, painful acknowledgement. I understand, he whispers. Judy returns her attention to the housekeeper. You showed extraordinary restraint, she says. You did not retaliate. You did not escalate. You simply endured. The housekeeper wipes a tear. And now, Judy continues, we honor what you endured by valuing it, publicly, legally, financially. The wife laughs sharply, a brittle sound that breaks halfway through. So this is where you pretend she's a martyr and I'm a monster? Judy's stare freezes her mid-breath. No, she says. This is where I tell the truth you've spent years avoiding. She pauses, letting the room go utterly silent. You were not powerful, she says softly. You were cruel. And cruelty is not power. It is weakness wearing a costume. The wife's jaw tightens, but her eyes flicker, a tiny, involuntary flash of wounded recognition. Judy sits back. And now that the truth has been spoken, we move to the verdict. The wife inhales sharply. The housekeeper grips her purse. The husband bows his head. Judge Judy reaches for the judgment sheet at last. Let's put a number, she says, to what you treated as nothing. Papers rustle softly as Judge Judy lifts the judgment sheet, a sound so crisp, so final, the entire courtroom seems to inhale at once. This is the moment everything has been building toward. Not the drama, not the shouting, not the unraveling, the accountability. Judy glances at the housekeeper first. A small nod, almost invisible, but it anchors the woman, steadying her trembling hands. Then the judge turns to the millionaire's wife, who sits rigid, back straight, fingers twisted together so tightly they've gone pale. Her diamonds no longer glitter. They look like cold drops of ice clinging to skin that suddenly seems too fragile for them. Here is what will happen, Judy begins, voice as precise as a scalpel. You will pay the plaintiff all unpaid wages, 3 full months. The number lands sharp but expected. The wife stiffens, jaw clenching, but says nothing. Judy continues, unfazed. You will also pay additional damages for emotional distress and workplace harassment. Your conduct was not merely unprofessional. It was abusive. The word abusive hits the room like a dropped gavel in itself. The wife recoils, as though physically struck. Judy flips the page. Payment will be drawn from accounts controlled by your husband. This ensures no retaliation, withholding, or conveniently delayed transfers. The husband nods, not proudly, not triumphantly, but with the heavy acceptance of someone determined to stop enabling harm. The wife turns to him, eyes wide. You're siding with them? With her? He doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. Judy continues. I am also filing a recommendation that the production team forward these recordings and transcripts to the Department of Labor for review of your household employment practices. A gasp ripples across the gallery. This is deeper than a judgment. This is oversight, investigation, consequence. No, you cannot send anything to them, the wife sputters. Do you know what that would do to my reputation, to my business partnerships? To your behavior, Judy says sharply. Did that, not me. The wife's mouth opens, then closes. Her bravado collapses in on itself. Judy's voice lowers, not soft, but firm with finality. You spent years believing people were beneath you. That fear was a management tool. That cruelty was currency. She leans closer. In my courtroom, those debts come due. Tears finally spill down the wife's cheek, not from remorse, from the terror of losing the armor she spent her life building. The housekeeper quietly wipes her eyes, relief breaking through in fragile waves. Judy signs the judgment. This case, she says, is resolved. She lifts her gaze one last time to the defendant. And let me make something perfectly clear. My courtroom does not work for you. But for a brief moment today, your life answered to it. The gavel rises. Before it falls, Judy adds one final line. Now we deal with the aftermath. Be honest. Is losing money enough consequence for someone who built their power on fear? Or should reputational damage matter just as much? The gavel finally falls. A clean, resonant crack that ripples through the courtroom like the end of a storm. But no one moves, not yet, because the real impact isn't the sound, it's the silence that follows. The millionaire's wife sits motionless, staring at the polished wood beneath her hands. Her fingers tremble, but she holds them still, as if movement would make everything collapse faster. Her diamonds, once loud, shimmering symbols of the life she built on image and intimidation, now look like relics from another world, a world that no longer belongs to her. She lifts her eyes slowly, as though searching for someone to anchor her. Her husband, the housekeeper, the judge, the cameras, but none of them can save her from the truth that has finally found her. Across the room, the housekeeper rises. She clutches her purse the same way she did when she entered, but her posture is different now. Her shoulders are not curled inward. Her breath is not held tight. She stands like someone who has finally stepped out of a long shadow. She looks to Judge Judy, just a small nod, gratitude wrapped in exhaustion, a thank you she doesn't have to speak. Judy nods back, her expression softening for the briefest moment. Not pity, not triumph, recognition. The husband approaches the housekeeper, carefully, respectfully, stopping a few feet away. "I'm sorry," he says quietly. "It isn't performative. It isn't polished. It is a confession that has no audience, no applause, no reward. Just truth." The housekeeper nods, her eyes warm but weary. Acceptance, not absolution. When he turns back to his wife, his expression shifts, not coldness, not anger, but a breaking that started long before today and can no longer be ignored. She reaches for him instinctively, the way someone reaches for a railing on uneven ground. "Please," she whispers, "don't leave me alone in this." He doesn't answer right away. His silence is not cruelty, it is clarity. "Change," he finally says, "one day at a time, or nothing that happened today will matter." Her breath catches, not because she is punished, but because this is the first time she has been asked for something real. Judge Judy gathers her papers, signaling the end of the case. But before she rises, she offers one final reflection, not for the cameras, not for show, but for the people who need to hear it. "Power," she says, "is not what you take from others, it is what you give them the courage to stand up to." The wife bows her head, the housekeeper exhales, the husband closes his eyes. As the courtroom empties, a soft, quiet truth settles over the scene. Arrogance walks in loud, but it always leaves in silence, and sometimes silence is the first honest step toward change.